Hey, how's it going? Today we're going to take a look at Cyberpunk 2077's Update 2.1. We ended up receiving a beefy 43 gigabyte update. What I'll be doing today is talking about some of the negatives, such as the FPS problem, binding issues, and much more. Then after that, we'll talk about the positives and finish up the video by going over some things that you should definitely try out. With that being said, give this video a like and let's go ahead and talk about it. So as I mentioned at the start of the video, there is some issues with Cyberpunk 2077's Update 2.1. There has been some reports as of late with FPS issues, and even if you have DLSS on, by the way, it does not help out at all. What I noticed in game when I started this up is that I was like, well, nothing seems too out of the ordinary, right? Everything's running great, FPS seems fine. But then as the game continued on, I noticed towards the top right that I was running at 80 Celsius. Typically, I run anywhere from 60 to 65 Celsius, sometimes lower. But in this case, I was running at 80 Celsius, which is pretty high. Now, I'm not the only one out here that is experiencing this issue because there are others. As I mentioned, this has been reported by many. For example, if you take a look on the screen here, you can see that this Steam user says this right here, quote, "The new update has ruined the game. The game is unplayable now and I get constant delay and frame skips. I can't use most of my graphic features and I can't roll back for some reason, keeps coming up with error." Then another Steam user replied back with this right here, and I've noticed this one as well. For example, right here, Kirsch says, quote, "And I hear the pow pow sound every time I try to accelerate with the car even if I have no weapon in hand." End quote. So yeah, there is an issue with that as well, some sort of sound problems. I'm sure that it will eventually go away as you do leave, but there is various things going on like this. I've also noticed some NPCs are just floating in the streets for whatever reason. Now, this is not the only issue because if you take a look on the screen here, here's another Steam user saying this right here, quote, "Update 2.1, low FPS, DLSS on. I don't know about you, but my game runs very poorly. 50 FPS max, although before the update was stable 120 plus. End quote. Then if we go down below, another Steam user had this to say, quote, "Having same problem, like I'm being stuck on 45 FPS with 100% GPU usage, and before I had 70 to 144 capped." End quote. So as you can see, there is some issues right now with the graphics settings. If you go and check the graphics, you should see that it's completely reset, and even if you do set DLSS on, and you put down, I don't know, performance, it's still going to run a bit choppy. I noticed this especially when I was in the Phantom Liberties DLC area there, Dogtown. For whatever reason, this was the worst, and maybe it's because there's more NPCs, there's more things going on within this small area, so that could be the possibility there. Continuing on towards the second issue right now with PC is the keybinds. For whatever reason, things are just a little bit weird in terms of trying to bind your keybinds. For example, right here, it says, quote, "Keybinding screwed with 2.1. Downloaded 2.1, now I have to use F for opening doors and conversations instead of my preset num0. Why? Unplayable again for left-handed person." End quote. So yeah, there's some things like that going on to where your binds are potentially completely messed up, so it might be a little difficult to get back on and play the game. This, of course, is not the only person experiencing the issue because there are others as well. Yeah, so as of right now, there is some issues going on for PC, and if you're on Xbox or PlayStation, I doubt there's any problems right there, but if there is, let me know down below. Not to mention, my UI at the very top there is completely bugged, so that I have the blue bar just popping up that far out, which is kind of strange. Also, if you're thinking, hey, maybe you're just using some sort of mods, no, I have no mods on this. Everything has been completely uninstalled, and this save specifically does not have any mods on it. With that information to the side, let's go ahead and talk about the positives on 2.1. First off, Atom Smasher is a tank, and I mean, he really is. And then when you throw in this Edge Runner Sandy effect, it adds a whole entire new gameplay to it. I think if you were to go back and fight this dude again, it would definitely be worth it. They did a great job over there at CDProjektRed with that colorful trail effect. Let's go on and move towards the metro station. This right here is something that we all wanted since the beginning of that 2018 trailer. Now it's finally here. You do have two options. You have the option to fast travel, and you also have the ability to just kind of choose where you want to go. Once you're inside, you do have a few options here. You can look towards the left side, or you can stand up and kind of just look around. You cannot move, which is not a big deal, but it would have been cool to be able to just kind of move around and look where I want to look instead of just where they want you to look. By the way, it's not a big issue. I just think that overall it would have been cool to kind of roam around and just look around and see what's going on. There's also the other option, like I mentioned, where you can just fast travel straight to where you want to go. And yeah, just choose a destination. Well, let's go over to Japantown because we do have to meet up with one of the lovers. The way this works is that you will receive a text message and you have the option to choose which apartment you want to go to. So I decided to choose Japantown. And there is something interesting here because when Judy starts to dance, it's kind of funny. Not too sure if they meant to mess this up, but I had a good laugh. There's also a good bit of conversation that goes on in between this, so I'm gonna skip that, but definitely check it out on your own. You will be able to do all sorts of things like cuddle and kiss, so if you feel lonely, this is definitely going to be your avenue. I'm not too sure why some really are so obsessed with the romantic parts of Cyberpunk, but it's cool regardless. Not a huge deal for me, not something I really was looking forward to. But yeah, again, if you're lonely, and yeah, this might just be for you. So now, as for the dancing part, it is kind of hilarious to see how Judy dances, but behind this, there is some music that I've muted, and I'm going to just continuously keep it muted because I do not want it to interfere with the video, and who knows if it's a copyright strike at that point, so I'm just going to leave it out of the video. It does sound familiar. It's the Edge Runners song. I'm sure you guys, once you hear it, you'll know it. And as for Judy's dancing, what the hell is this? I just thought it was funny. But if you go towards the bed, you can dance. The shower as well, you can take a shower. There's various things that you can do within the apartment. And yeah, I don't know. For me, not a huge deal. But for a lot of people, this is, I guess, what you've been wanting. I don't know. Cool for you guys. Let's continue on and talk about the next part here. So if you checked out the stream that CDProjektRed did, they talked about 5 vehicles, specifically motorcycles that have been added. And not only that, but they've also added a new vehicle here that is Johnny Silverhand's original vehicle from the lore. This is going to be the Porsche 911. Once you have purchased the vehicle, you will receive a text message from one of the fixers. You will have to go to the destination, find it. It will look a little bit strange here because there's like this copycat of Johnny Silverhand. You will then find a tracker on the copycat. You should be able to find the coordinates from there, grab the vehicle, and you're good to go. It's that simple. I'm actually glad that they added a mission for this, even if it is small, because you got to go to a destination, find this copycat, and it had some humor behind it. There's also some things that you can read. Overall, they did a great job on this as well, and I cannot wait to just continue playing. Next, we have the 5 motorcycles that they've added. This one right here is the Kusanagi Akashita. This one is amazing, man, and I'm telling you, if I could light up those wheels, I definitely would, but I am experiencing some of those keybind issues, so I cannot do that. There's a few things to point out here. If you take a look at where the gas gauge is, there is the samurai logo, and then around it, you also have a few stickers, logos, decals, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of placed randomly. The second bike that you're taking a look at here is going to be the Kusanagi Peacekeeper. This one, I'm not going to say it's entirely bad, but I'm not a huge fan of it. Not that it's the worst, I just don't think it's that great. So if you were thinking about purchasing a bike, I would not buy this one right here. I'd actually just probably switch over to the first Kusanagi that we just went over, which is the Akashita. The third bike here is going to be the Nazaire Racer. And this one, again, I cannot light up because of the keybind issues, but for right now, this is what it is. Nothing special, pretty basic, but if you're a big fan of just something simple, black, yeah, I'd go for this one. Then if you go over towards the fourth bike, this is going to be the Apollo. This is sort of basic in terms of color scheme, but really it's not bad at all. I like the whole turquoise with the white, it looks nice. And last but not least, we have the Nazaire Kobold. This one is my favorite out of all of them, because if you take a look at the front here, it almost looks like an Oni demon mask. This is by far the coolest, and I definitely dig the color scheme. It looks almost similar to the Akashita, but to be fair, yeah, it does. But I don't know, I like this one a lot better. Let me know what you think is the best bike in the latest update 2.1. Moving on towards races. So you can participate in races again. You can race around, win a prize, which really just reduces some of the vehicle prices And it's not a big deal for me because I had already purchased everything prior, even the newest vehicles. So by this time, it pretty much didn't benefit me at all. But the races in general are fun. They're not too complex, but it's something to do, to be honest. I think if you were a big fan of the races prior, you're definitely going to enjoy this now. How is the update altogether? Pretty good. I think they did a great job on this, although I was expecting something like New Game Plus or potentially something like a Horde mode. For me, I just want to slash away at enemies and just kind of do that instead. If you were to ask me, hey, would you rather have races instead of a Horde mode or a New Game Plus? I would say no. I would rather have the Horde mode and the New Game Plus. All in all, how is update 2.1? It's fun, but there is some issues with FPS and some of the binds, which I'm sure will be fixed through some sort of mod. But other than that, this is the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for the support. If you have any questions, comment down below. I will be answering those comments within the first hour or two. So with that being said, thank you guys again for the support and see you all in the next video.